Nicholas. Tell us, what are your goals, and do you have a vision for Impact?
So, in light of what saying about passion that we have for this particular age group, a large part of our vision is discipleship for this age. And so, we came into this wanting to be more intentional about the 2 years that we get to be involved in their lives, knowing that we're having children both from church and not church backgrounds. So every term now has a theme, and those themes are about sort of like they're spiritual themes, and they're planned to be able to give them the foundational building blocks that they need moving forward. So am I going into the next question a bit much, or can I carry on with that?
Maybe. You wrote the comment here that we want to be able to model what a genuine faith looks like, and we want to disciple with intentionality. So the question I had in response to that is, what does intentional discipleship look like to you?
Yeah. So again, with that modeling and that living a genuine faith, we underestimate young people in terms of the fact that it's easy to think that they'll follow a mask or a fake person, but young people are actually very, very good at telling who's authentic and who's not, and who's faking it and who's not. So, so modeling that genuine faith, being real about our own relationship with God, that's a big part of it. As I was saying, the planning of these terms and the spiritual themes attached to them. So this term and next term, we're doing the themes of creation. So we're actually going out and doing things in creation, and then our little devotion is still there, but it's just about that part of creation. So for example, like this term we did a water games night, and then the devotion was about God creating water. We did a science theme night about atmosphere. We did science experiments for that. We've done rock climbing and connected that to God making the earth. So again, we're just taking the fun, connecting it to the spiritual, and it's on a plan. So the first 2 terms are creation this year. The second 2 terms focus in on the life of Jesus. And then next year we kind of got some different topics such as, spiritual disciplines like learning to pray, learning to worship, being in community. These kind of just foundational topics for them to be able to see what living with Jesus is about, what walking with Jesus is about, what it looks like to be a disciple, who God is, who Jesus is, why that's important for them.
That's really good, Kayla. It's sort of like, correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like what you're saying is you're trying to teach these young people what it is to wrestle with where does God meet my everyday life, and how to develop some really practical tools in building relationships or building a relationship with God. That's precious. Thank you. Could you tell us a little bit about what God has been doing in Impact since you took over?
So when we started, or when we joined Impact last year, or took over as leaders, I think we had about 8 to 9 kids on the roster. And we know it's going to be in cycles as there's, as we get the year 6s, if there's a big year 6 group the year before, and then at the time, which is this year, and then last year we had only a few year 7s that moved up, year 8s that moved up. So this year we've got 19, I think, on the thing. So yeah, it's and quite a few of them are people's friends. So they're actually kids that have coming, like the kids. Sorry, our kids there actually enjoy taking their friends to Impact.
So you've seen a numerical growth, but you also saw, like, you had a young lad last year who gave his heart to the Lord, and you had a girl in your group who got baptised. There's been some amazing spiritual growth as well, hasn't there?
There has been. One of the awesome things that happened was one of the girls was brought along as a friend, and she was in year 8 with us last year. So when she moved on to year 9, she actually chose on her own volition to carry on and continue to go to Forged. And she was going along without because she was older than the friends who brought her. So she went on her own and continued to pursue that independently. So that was encouraging to hear that. We also, we're getting to know the kids now on a bit more of an individual basis too. So we're becoming more familiar with some of the challenges that they are facing. And so we feel like right now we're sort of seeing the starts of God working, but we're still watching these stories unfold, prayerfully, trying to be present and intentional with them and seeing the Holy Spirit work. So we're just sort of also looking to the future as well with some of the young people that we are getting to know. We're seeing people feeling home, safe with us, and that's the biggest thing is that, kids feel welcome, feel like they belong.
Absolutely no different to here on a Sunday morning, right? Kayla mentioned they're Forged, and Forged is our youth group, so our high school age up. Kelly, do you want to wave at us? Kelly, if you want to know more about that, see Kelly. But I think we're really blessed here to have a strong children's ministry, and then with the options of coming to Impact, our intermediate age, and then ultimately the next step is Forged, and then it's all there. Everyone is part of this church, and we're looking at growing that. So talking about that, because Impact isn't just this little isolated group that happens, sometime in the week, and the rest of the church has nothing to do with it. That's not how this works, right? No. So how can we, as the body of Christ, as the church, how can we serve your ministry? How can we serve this ministry? What are some of the needs?
So for us, just prayer for the leaders, prayer for the kids. A lot of them, as we've discussed already, are going through challenging times in their lives. It's transitioning from basically being a young child to being a teenager. Prayer is a big one. And the other one is people who can just come alongside us, come along on a Friday night, and actually they don't have to lead, just be able to, be a parent to the kids whilst they're there is a good one.
Present.
Yeah, be present, because as we increase the numbers, we need to make sure we've still got those ratios.
So that's the biggest thing, is because as we're noticing the growth and the numbers happening, which is an exciting thing, we also need to continue to have the right number of leaders or adults, volunteers in the team to help continue to support that growth. So one of the hard things and stuff is, so for instance, a couple of weeks ago, I was sort of finding that, I was juggling all these balls behind the scenes as it sort of happens to continue, making things happen. But in the process, I feel like, I'm not able to sit down and just chat and connect with this young person or that young person. So it's like when though, that you've got other people, like a large enough team, that no kid is going to be missed, because that's the biggest thing in our hearts, is that we don't want a kid going through something and for them to walk out that night and just feel like nobody saw them or nobody heard them. So, for us, it's really on our hearts to have people, joining the team, and even if all they can commit is to that once a fortnight Friday night and being there and turning up and being there for them, then, that's definitely something we're interested in, if that's where you'd like to help us out and support us.
How are you guys? You've got a large family yourself.
Yes.
Are there personal things that we can do as a church to support you?
One of the biggest things that was a reluctance to join Impact when we first joined was the fact that we have 3 kids, and trying to find babysitters. Whilst we were doing the same sort of thing over in Tauranga, we had my sister-in-law was 5 minutes down the road, she's now moved 5 minutes down the road here. So it's actually been a blessing. So
it's convenient.
So just things like if you're one of those people who loves to serve through baking, I would always appreciate not having to worry about the supper for that fortnight. If it's on your heart to say, "Hey, Kayla, I've just had Impact on my mind, and I baked these brownies, and would you like me to drop them off for Impact? And I'll be like, yes, I don't have to worry about the food. So that's like one sort of practical way, or just, dropping us a note of encouragement, or, just checking in and seeing how we're doing, and, is there any, I think you need help with this week or this fortnight, just in terms of, is it extra work preparing or setting up, or, so just if they have a prompting, we always appreciate that sort of support behind the scenes.
That's great. And isn't that neat that, we are a body, and it's not just one or two who do things. We're all called to serve together. And I just encourage you, if there isn't a place in the church where you contribute, where you're serving, maybe just ask the Lord to place something upon your heart. Like, where should I be serving God? And it might be something like baking for Impact, or being a bit more committed in terms of coming every Friday night to help. What I think we'll do now, guys, sorry, I should have said this at the start. One of the things we're wanting to do a little bit more is give time for our ministries to be able to give feedback to us as a church. It's a really important part of who we are and what we do. And often we kind of, we don't know what's going on, eh? So that's part of what this is about, but also so that we can gather around and we can pray and we can support and hear the needs and also the testimonies that are going on.